This is the industrial side. Most industrial businesses are either won or lost in the day-to-day operations. These are conversations with the operators who run these firms, talking about how they run them, what works, and what doesn't. All right. JD Beck, owner of Mountain Valley Plumbing and HVAC. To those who are uninitiated, also Dirty Hands Ops. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Excited to get into your story. It's pretty interesting. You've gone down a path a little different, but in some ways similar to mine. I understand you came to your company after spending time in the Army doing home services, construction type work, and then kind of pivoting into construction in the private sector before buying your company. Kind of like, how did you end up deciding you want to go down that path?
Well, yeah, man. So I was in the Army from 10 to 14. I was an engineer officer. And then I got out. So you said you were in the Air Force. We were like the Army's version, and the Air Force calls them Red Horse. Yeah, it was like the Army's version of that. Like we would like build runways, build forward operating bases, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Glad I did 40 years, didn't want to do 20, got out. And interestingly enough, had a career in commercial elevators, which was like the perfect industry for me looking back at it. It took me to San Francisco, then Phoenix, and then back to Denver. And I don't know, like I kind of just kept moving up, right? I started off in like a project management training program, then took a field supervisor position in Phoenix, and then like a department manager position in Denver. And doing that for about 5 years, and was kind of looking for the next thing in corporate America. And wasn't really finding it in elevators. Elevators, honestly, it was kind of a crowded field at the time. The company I was working for has since like really got rid of a lot of middle managers. And uh, they were they kind of saw it coming, so it was getting very challenging to find like that next step, right? Uh, so I had an offer to go stay with them and go run service at the Denver airport. I had an offer with a former boss of mine to go run a small company. Not small, it's a mid-sized company, about 150 people out in California. And none of it was just really clicking with me. None of it was clicking with my life either. Buying a business has always been like at the back of my mind. Like I read like the what's that Harvard Business Review
Oh,
book
yeah.
by
Guide is fun.
yeah, that's like the textbook, right? So I read that, and a couple years went by, and I'm just looking for the next thing to do. And I'm like, why don't we try to buy a business? I got a little bit of money saved up. We could probably make a run at this. And so I did. I started looking for companies, kept working the whole time, which I recommend to any searcher out there. Like it really kind of buys you runway, right? So and my job was like on the road supervision, right? So I wasn't having like go to an office every day. I was going to job sites, checking in on crews all over the state of Colorado and Wyoming. And so that made it kind of easy to go visit companies. I'd go visit a company, at like 7 o'clock at night, which is when most sellers want to go see you anyway,
Right.
right? Because they don't want you to come around their employees or whatever. And man, just kind of mixed success at first. I would say anybody that's trying, which you mentioned yourself, you'd have to mix, actually no success, right? Just lots of struggle. That's what it is at first, man. Like
Yeah.
if you're trying to buy a bigger company, I'd imagine it's just more of that, right? So I spent about 6 months, and man, I thought I was close to the finish line on 2 deals. Like there was this company I was chasing a little bit further out east in Colorado. I thought I had it locked up at one point, and then the guy sold to somebody else, right? And then I actually had a company under LOI, a deal that wound up falling through. Like I was going through due diligence. It was a construction type company. It was a mechanical contractor, and really glad I didn't buy it, especially now with the way that construction is. I'm really glad I didn't buy that. And then there was like a landscaping company that this was around like January 1 of 2022, and thought I had it locked up. It was great. It was close to my house, 20-minute commute. It was awesome. And the guy sold to somebody else. Right. So I remember just like I was in the I was in the hardware store, which is where I spent a lot of time anyway. And I was like walking the aisles of Home Depot for some random thing that had broken at my house. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna go write an offer once a week. I'm gonna write 4 offers a month, because every business has some value, and eventually something's gonna work, right? So I started doing that. And uh, about 6 weeks into that, I actually had 3 businesses to pick from. So I kinda turned the tables, man. It was great. Yeah, so after about 6 weeks of just, hey, every Friday I went and met a business owner. I was using brokers. I met a business owner every Friday, and I'd say, "Okay, well, he's asking for X. I think it's worth Y. Y is usually much less than X," and so I wrote the offer, right? And of course, it went nowhere, right? But about 3 or 6 weeks after doing that, actually, I started looking at franchises at that point too. And so
Really?
I was at a franchise discovery day, in Louisiana for an HVAC franchise. And I got up that morning at like 5 to like prep what I was going to do for the day. And but actually, let me back up. So I was writing these one offers a week, and one of those companies, the broker contacted me and he said, "Hey man, I got this, kind of this plumbing company up in Estes Park. Do you want to go look at it?" And if you don't know anything about Colorado geography, Estes Park it's a little mountain town, about 30 minutes up the mountains. It's not off the interstate, so it's not in like the main.
Okay.
Like where everybody goes skiing is off of I-70. That's like the main drive through the mountains. This is a little bit north. It's actually the gateway town to Rocky Mountain National Park. So, I mean, you can think of like a Moab type of place or Bryce. These national parks, they all have a little town outside the gate. Actually, Estes reminds me a lot of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I'm from Alabama, so we used to always go up to Gatlinburg for,
Yeah.
for vacations or whatever. Well, that's a lot of that, right? So it's a small town. There were about 6,000 homes in one zip code. All the phone numbers have the exact same first 6 digits, and then the same first 3 numbers,
Convenient.
right? Really small town, right? So I'm like, sure, I'll drive to Estes on a Friday and go look at this company. I didn't think anything of it. It actually was a little bit smaller than what I really wanted to buy. And drove up there and I'm like, man, this thing checks all the boxes. So like the seller was very open with the company, with all of his employees, and he was trying to sell it. Some of the employees had actually tried to purchase it. They didn't make a very hard effort, but they did make they downloaded some paperwork and filled it out, right? Um, uh, they had a gun safe full of like keys to people's homes, right? So it didn't have like a service club membership program like most of my companies have now, most of the companies in my industry have now, but it said they had the keys to 300 people's homes.
Oh my
One could argue that's better than like a maintenance agreement, right? Uh and it came with some real estate. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of an interesting business. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller than I want. It was 90 minutes from my house. So it's a bit of a drive. But I was like, man, okay. So I wrote an offer. And so, anyways, I got all my life. At that point, there was another company I was kind of chasing too, and then this franchise. And so back to my franchise day story. So I'm at this discovery day. I get up at 5 a.m. in Louisiana, and I'm like, hammering on my keyboard, making sure I keep up with work because I still have a day job, and prepping some stuff for this discovery day. And I see that I had a signed LOI for Mountain Valley Plumbing. I'm like, well, all right, I guess we're gonna do this. And so I went through the motions on the franchise discovery day. I felt kind of bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I don't know. I think I wound up doing the right thing. We went through the whole process of buying the company, which is a whole story in and of itself. And, about 3 months later, I was the proud owner and obligor of a lot of debt and a building in Estes Park on a small plumbing company.
Yeah.
And from there, that thing was about 1 million in revenue the year before I bought it. We'll probably do around 6 this year.
Wow.
So we're 4 years into it. There's been 2 other acquisitions since. I bought like a name and a phone number. It's a really small seller finance deal. And then I wound up buying a company out of Denver, like the Denver metro area. It's like North Denver metro, believe it or not, called JD's Plumbing.
It's gonna be
And yeah, so like the 3, we kind of merged them. We still do a lot of work up in Estes Park. We got some customers in the front rank. We have kind of a larger service area than I really like to have, but it's kind of the nature of the beast. So yeah, I mean, I bought about 2 million in revenue, and I'm pretty confident we could push to about 6 this year if things continue to hold. So we're actually pretty well on pace for that.
nice. That's amazing. I mean, I think I read somewhere like when you brought the initial company, everything was paper and pen.
It was pretty rough. So yeah, the initial company was pen and paper. The way it would work, so the office girl, she would answer the office girl. I don't know, the woman that worked the office, right? So she would answer the phone, right? And there was no scheduling, no nothing. She had like 3 of these 7-day sorters, like little slots or whatever, Monday to Sunday, 3 weeks out, right? And she just look at it and say, "Oh, I think Thursday looks good." And she puts her paper ticket in there, right? So she was literally like, she would take your information over the phone. She would write what she thought she needed on like a piece of paper in case it got busy. And then when she had time, she would make like a carbon copy paper invoice. Paper, back when an invoice, it was a service ticket, right? And
Yeah.
so carbon copy service ticket. The guys would come in on Thursday. The first guy, they would take all the tickets, they put them up on the wall, have all these chip clips up on the wall. So they might put all the tickets up there. There was no dispatching process. The guys just came in, grabbed whatever ticket they felt like running that day, and they went out, right? And then we build time and material. It's the way it works. So we would just charge you like, hey, we were at your house for an hour. It's $125 an hour. If we were at your house for an hour, we would take our materials. We had a material multiple, and that was the bill, right? But we would come back to the office, the guys would come back to the office and they would fill out their ticket, which there's no accountability there, right? We'd have guys in a job for 4 hours and they built it
Yeah.
in one. That happens all the time. And they'd put it in a tray. And like every Tuesday and every Thursday, like the office coordinator, take all the invoices out and she go into QuickBooks and type up an invoice and then print it, put it in an envelope and mail it to you. And we got paid, dude. I bet my day sales outstanding at that time was 45 days. There actually was a month where I had $180,000 in AR on a business that was doing 1.5 million a year. So I had more than a month of AR. Right? We're nearly 6 times the size now. We have a third of the AR, right? It's,
Yeah.
there's some huge makeups to go. But yeah, I mean, I took it from there and about 6 months in, got us onto Service Titan, so an actual technological ERP. Um, got us into a flat rate pricing model, and then all the technicians quit. Which actually is a pretty common story. I've talked to
Yeah.
probably 6 guys that it happens to. So, because you got guys, they just don't wanna do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't say I blame them. Like, the company that you started working at was running this way, and now we're just changing everything. I kinda understand that, right? I'm not blaming anybody. So, I say all the techs quit. We had 6 technicians and 2 stuck it out. 1 is still with me, and then one of the guys that quit wound up coming back, and both of those guys are, like, amazing technicians now and probably making 3 times the money for themselves, and
Right.
doing a much better job for our customers and everything. And yeah, so we kinda just rebuilt it from there, rolled out a sales process that's only gotten better with time. Um, and yeah, it's kind of a slow evolution, really. Like it took us a while to really find our footing, but yeah, I mean, grew it dramatically, right? So yeah.
So what was I mean, when you had 1 or 2 techs left, were you just on the jobs yourself? Or like how did
I
how
did
did you
run
fill the
some
seats
calls.
quick? You did?
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
run some service calls myself, which, was not ideal. I'm not the world's greatest technician. I actually ran my last service call a few months ago. I made it a point. I actually think I made the world worse. My background is
Customers were
not as a
celebrating that
technician.
day.
Like, I'm pretty handy and pretty technically
Yeah.
inclined, but I should not be getting paid by customers to be their technicians. No, actually, it was kind of funny. A a down boiler that was, like, 30 minutes from my house. I'm like, "I got a little bit of time. I'll jet up there. I think I know what the problem is," right? I wasted a bunch of time and made it worse and didn't
Yeah.
fix it. I was like, "Oh, man, this is bad." I'm like, "You know what? I'm never doing this." I'll still occasionally cover for my sales rep, but even that's getting to be pretty few and far between.
Got it, got it. So is that your process? So I assume, I guess to take a step back, I assume do you get a lot of your folks from search engine marketing and Facebook ads and stuff like that? Or how do you get
No, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I've been kicking this around. I was working on it before, like we got on a call. Honestly, man, I think we're gonna run very few pay-per-click search engine ads. I found it to be very, very expensive, like
uh,
very expensive. Like, and I think Colorado is actually a bit unique. Like, if somebody's winning in Colorado, they want to tell me, man, I'll listen. But I think that Colorado, like, I've done like some cost per click and like research, and if you look at it like Colorado, not even Denver, just Colorado as a whole is about twice the price for a click on Google compared to the rest of the country. And so, yeah, I was listening to a podcast this morning with John Wilson, which if anybody wants to get in the home service world, his like owned and operated
on
podcast.
and
Actually, I was on a meeting he had yesterday with this little group, so it's been good. Um, I don't think we run the same business some days. When I hear him talk, he's like, "Oh, I get a lead for $100." I'm like, "Man, what?" I think it's 5. It's a lot more, right? Like our cost per lead is maybe 150, but our cost to get a new customer is,
wow.
probably 5 to 7 times that. I mean, I think that, looking at, like, our non-branded search cost over the last 90 days, we made a big push into it, actually, since about August. I got a little bit carried away with it, honestly, but, I mean, like, even, like, the best months, we were at, like, $700 for a booked job, and I'm like, "Man, that's just." I mean, we can make that math work, but that is the best month. On average, it's pushing closer to $1,000 for a booked job, and so I mean, I think there's room in the marketing world for that, in this industry, but it cannot be your primary lead source in a market like this.
Got it. So is it a lot of referrals just from past customers and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, so like the way that I've been like I would love to claim this as my own, but I learned it from some people. Like the way to like think about your marketing is like your current customers your lapsed customers, and then new prospects. And so I try to like divide my marketing efforts by those three. And so we really try to maximize the value out of our existing customers because they're by far and away the most effective, right? So and they know you, they've already demonstrated they like you to a degree. So like it saves them some cost as well having to go out and find a new contractor, right? So we ran a campaign in February and March. It's wrapping up here any day called February, right? So you could get a free tankless water heater with a premium furnace and a furnace and AC, right? And that campaign I spent like $4,000 on. We did direct mail, we did outbound calling, and added something else, direct mail, outbound calling, and there was like emails and social media campaigns. So it was all kind of designed, come at this thing land, sea, and air. That's going to show about a 30x ROAS on
Wow.
that. Like, yeah, so we had about 3,000 people on the list. We sold about 30 systems off of it. And so, wait, that math's not right. We sold about 15 systems off of it. And, yeah, man, it's going to wind up being the best campaign we've ever run, right? But that's targeted at your existing customers. They already know you, so like the objection to being worried about bringing you into the home is not there anymore. They've already established they like you. It's pretty straightforward. But like our marketing efforts are focused on just trying to get repeat business out of our existing customer base with a balance of pulling in new customers. We figured that like we need about 1,000 new customers every single year. And so you kind of look like, okay, based on the last 6 months or 90 days or whatever, how many can I get from these lead sources? And you start at like the bottom, like the cheapest lead source, and you go up.
And so it sounds like a lot of your revenue coming from just HVAC replacements, or is
I
it?
mean, that's going to be your biggest revenue source in any home service company. It really is. Like, I tried to not run it that way for the longest time, but you can't really fight that, right? So, your biggest revenue source is going to be from your big jobs, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be like your HVAC replacements on the HVAC side. But on plumbing, it's the same thing, right? You take those water heaters, your sewer lines, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, you want to make sure that you're looking for the way to maximize those opportunities as best you can.
Yeah. And so I I don't know if I know the exact number, but it's something like maybe 5 or 7 years. Though you should start expecting problems on like a new HVAC system, like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, like you might start seeing problems around 5 to 7 years. We consider the equipment aged at 10.
10.
So
Okay.
at 10 years, we start to talk about a replacement at that
Mhm.
point. And then, it depends on the brand and how well you take care of it. Like, so we sell train equipment, and I will say we don't replace train with train very often. Like usually we're pulling out some other brand and putting in train. That like the handful of times that I've replaced train equipment, it's like 25 years old. So like like, there's a lot to be said for the brand, right?
Yeah.
Same thing on boilers too, right? Like your cast iron boilers. We've seen some 70-year-old cast iron boilers, that we finally replaced. If you get like some crappier brands or like, but there's a lot of like builder grade stuff
Yeah.
that like you home builders will put in that, yeah, we've seen that fail at the 7 year mark. But I'd say probably the average age of our replacements, I don't really track that number, but it's got to
Yeah.
be somewhere between 15 years,
Got it.
maybe 15.
That was going to be my question. If like the follow up with the customer is based on like what you put in, is there a problem or something like that, or is it more like,
No,
oh, you haven't
no.
renewed it?
So
Okay.
no, the way that we do it, we advertise like a furnace tune-up or an
Yeah.
AC tune-up for $39. And it is, we come in, we check the equipment, we see what it needs, and then we have like a lead flipping process. And so if it's older equipment, if it does need some work, or if it's down or whatever, I will tell the customer, maybe you should talk to somebody about replacing this. Would you like to bring the sales rep out? And I have my guys use the word sales rep because I want to be very clear. Like our service technicians are service technicians. They're hourly employees. They are there to service your equipment. Our sales reps are commission sales reps, right? So they are there to sell you equipment. And we never want to blur that line with our customers. There are companies that do that and it works to a degree, but I think it's important to keep that trust with your customer too.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, sure, man, if you want to change out a 5-year-old system, we'll sell you a new one all day long, right? I'm an evil, greedy businessman. I'm here to make money. But like, I want you to know that you're talking to a sales rep, and I want you to understand that yes, he's commission based and he's there to sell you a new piece of equipment. that's been pretty important to me for the last few years because we have kind of blurred that line like probably 2 or 3 years ago. And you get a lot of pushback from customers, and rightfully so. Like, oh, this guy was just here to sell me a piece of equipment. And I'm like, that's a fair point. We split the roles out pretty quick.
Is that the first person on site, like office manager, like routes it out to a sales rep to show up with the
No,
iPad?
actually, we have a pretty strong policy that the sales rep is almost never the first one on site. Yeah. So, like, unless a customer calls in asking for an estimate, it's not a service tech. So, a service tech, and the idea behind that, like for the HVAC side, is that the service tech can give you an honest, unbiased opinion of the equipment, right? So, he is not incentivized to sell you a new piece of equipment. He's really not. And then, like, you and somebody that's not biased towards selling you a piece of equipment can then make the decision if you want to talk to a sales rep or not.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of it's a challenge because you could have a tech show up and just do a quick fix and be like, "Hey, you really probably should get something, but this will hold you over for a year." And that's not necessarily a bad thing because it builds a lot of trust with the customer. But then you didn't get the sale, so it's
Yeah.
like, what do you preach to your people about what you need to be trying to do for the customer on that first visit,
What do we preach to our people?
or do you just
You
trust
know,
them to do what they think is best?
Yeah, I mean, customers are smart, man.
Yeah.
Like they really are. Like if you think you're gonna lie to a customer and get away with it, I mean, of course, you could probably lie to a customer. We have a pretty strong code of ethics, actually, at the company too, that does get hammered into guys. Um, like I'm sure we've sold a system that didn't need to be sold for sure, right? It happens to everybody, but it wasn't done, disingenuously, right? So like
Yeah.
that's why we send that service tech out there is because he can make an unbiased opinion. He doesn't really get paid that much differently either way,
Yeah.
right? Like he's not going to make a bunch of money if you buy a new piece of equipment, and he's not. He actually might make more money if you repaired it, frankly.
Yeah.
And so he's there for like your incentives are aligned, right?
Mhm.
So you really can't like there's no reason even to lie to a customer for a
Yeah.
service tech, right? And then by the time a salesman shows up, it's clear like the salesman will never say, "Oh, your heat exchanger's cracked," or "Oh, this," or
Yeah.
"Oh, that," or whatever. I try to get non-technical sales reps, right? So actually, like the guy's my sales rep now, he has a much better plumbing background than HVAC, right? Like he understands it like a car salesman understands a car, right? He'll tell you the features and what's great about it. He can size it and that kind of thing, but he's not gonna, like, open it up and say, "Oh, the control board needs a brand new diode." That's not what's happening.
Just pour his water bottle in the console.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
leak on the side. Did you see it?
No, that
Let me
no,
show
no, that's not
you.
yeah, like, I think, the important thing is to align incentives, right,
Yeah.
with your customers and with your employees and with you, right? When everybody's incentives are aligned, you can run a pretty ethical company. It's pretty nice.
And I guess going back a little bit, because it seems like your team's running pretty smoothly. Like, were you able to just go like Indeed, like the regular job sites, and just look for somebody, or how were you able to actually find? Because that's a big issue right now in the trades, just finding people who have both sides of it, the character you just talked about, but then also the skill set to be able to do the work. Like, what's been your approach?
Yeah, man, a mix actually, because it's a weird job. Residential service is not easy. Like I come from more of a commercial background.
Yeah.
Like in commercial construction, you could like get in fights still. I had friends that got in fist fights with customers, and then they still paid. So that's
It's all
right.
business.
You can't do that in residential service. That it's a different thing. So you have to have the technical knowledge needed to work and do the trade that you're doing. And then you have to have the soft skills to talk to customers. We've sourced employees from all different places and with mixed results. I think where we're landing, we've gotten to a point where we're not doubling in a year anymore. Like whenever you double in a year, you hire some
That's
clowns.
craziness. Yeah.
You know, but like if you're growing at 20% per year, that's a very manageable number. And so we've actually really shifted gears to hiring helpers and bringing them up from the ground up. So what of my current employees, actually the best ones have been with me since the first day they were in the trade, basically.
Wow.
Like yeah, we've got some young helpers and like so you have to have managers to watch these guys to make sure that you have to have managers to watch these guys, especially whenever you put them on like their first install or their
Mhm.
first service job or whatever. But if you can find leads or managers, whatever you want to call them, who can put the effort into mentoring newer guys, the technical side of it, and I don't want to downplay it, but like it's almost better to like bring up a guy in your culture from the very beginning as opposed to hiring somebody from outside of it.
And do you
And we've
need
done both with mixed success, right? But
yeah.
um I will say that like the guys that you find that you can bring up from the beginning are usually the better ones. And, like, with that said, we're actually in about a week, I'm going to there's this trade school down in Denver,
Mhm.
that we've got. I actually have 2 employees from them right now. I didn't know both of them came from this place. So, yeah, I'm like a hiring fair in a couple of weeks. I'm
Oh,
gonna go
that's
there.
awesome.
My plan is to hire 2 more,
Yeah.
like, that's the goal, right? We're looking for 2 more guys to come on board. And then, like, kinda have, like, a real onboarding process for them where they can learn the trade they're in and they can get in with you and like your goals and your ethics and your culture, and then they fit from day one,
Yeah.
right? And then like they got friends here, and this it just winds up being a better place to work versus just pulling a guy off the street that he's bounced from 8 different companies. And it's we've gotten some guys off of Indeed that have worked out great, but I'd say that success is around 20% or
Mhm.
lower.
And that I think you answered my question. I was gonna ask for your helpers that you bring in. Are you looking for folks out of, like, a 2-year associates of trade school that has some sort of training already, or are you just kinda open to whatever kinda
No,
comes
this
in
trade school has it's like a 6-week trade school.
6 weeks, okay.
Yeah, it's really short, and, it's, uh it's actually more like a life skills
Yeah,
thing. I think they might teach 'em how to, like, read a tape measure or something, but
yeah.
it's not, yeah, they're not, like, hooking up gauges to something,
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think that's a good and I'm hoping that becomes more prevalent. 'Cause I always talk about like, I've learned that so much when I got out of the military, I was kind of more along the lines of those folks getting the advice of go get an MBA eventually, get into big corporate, you already have the discipline, you know how to handle responsibility, you'll be great. And I just bypassed all these other types of work that you don't need all these degrees, like, you could come in from essentially nothing, like you're saying, if you have the right attitude and have the respect and, like, I'm assuming those helpers can grow into being leads at some point and, work for you for 10 years and then, like, not to give them the bad idea, but they could go buy something else themselves. So, like, there's all of those opportunities still out there in the trades that hopefully younger people are starting to see.
Yeah, no, it's, one of my goals is for all of my journeyman level technicians to make 6 figures, and
Yeah.
we pretty much pull that off, you know? The guys with good experience are doing that, I mean, it's not easy, but they are doing it.
Yeah. Awesome. So the growth, I mean, you've mentioned a couple of things. The growth, like focusing on building out from the power base of your existing customers, did some acquisitions. Like what was like the biggest driver of kind of like growing the revenue thus far? And like how are you thinking about like the next stage of what you're trying to do?
The biggest driver was a good sales process, by far and away. But by far and away, having a good sales process. In fact, I kinda got away from it last year, and it was one of our worst years ever. Like, staying on a good sales process, having good lead flow, that is by far and away the biggest lever. I think there's a lot of companies out there in this industry that like the owner, like the JD's company I bought, right? Like the owner, like he's not a strong sales rep, right? I mean, like he's good enough. He's good enough to get to a certain level. I mean, I'm good enough to get to a certain level, right? But there's people out there that you will find who they just like sales is a way of life and they know how to live it, they know how to do it. And if you can find a way to get a salesman into a customer's home and the customer wants them there, it's great, man. Like then the customer's happy, you've sold them something, you get a big ticket, the customer gets a repair to their home. It's a win for everybody, right? So finding a way to make that happen as frequently as possible has been without a doubt the biggest lever. I think the next biggest lever for us is finding a cost-effective way to do marketing. I feel like I get closer to it every single day, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm in Plato's cave or something trying to figure out marketing, right? Like there's shadows on the wall. And you're like, oh, pay per click. At
Or
some
the
point, I'll turn
what
around.
is it? It's always sunny in Philadelphia meme where he's pointing to all the all the things on
Do
the
I
wall.
now?
The
Do I?
always sunny in Philadelphia. No.
Um, And then one other thing I would really recommend is joining a best practices group. So we joined Nexstar about a year ago, which I don't want to call the premier BPO, but I guess it is, right? I'm like, people seem to know Nexstar, and I actually resisted joining it for probably 2 years, and then because believe it or not, so I had a sales rep with us for a while, wound up not working out for a wide variety of reasons, but he and another guy, they said, "Oh, Nexstar is just awful. It'll ruin your company and it screws over technicians and this, that, or the other." When I joined Nexstar, I think our prices actually went down at first. Like it was really odd, right?
Yeah.
Like it was not at all what I expected. It was nowhere near as expensive as I expected. The training has been by and large very, very good for both me and for my employees. So there's a lot of them out there, like in the home services space. There's Nexstar, there's Service Group International, there's Success something or other. And actually, thinking of John Wilson, I listened to a podcast maybe a month or two ago with Ken Goodrich on it. I don't know if you know who Ken is, but he's the guy behind Gettle. So Gettle is, I don't know, I'm probably butchering the numbers here, but bit of a legend in our industry. They went from like a $3 million company to I I don't know the number, and I hesitate to say it.
Too big.
Hundreds of millions. They sold for hundreds of millions, whatever it was in 2022. And Ken was the guy that did that, right? And like Ken talks about how like his first company he bought, he was like 25 years old. He didn't pay payroll taxes. Oops. So the IRS like shows up and they're like, yeah, but so like, son, you haven't paid your payroll taxes. And like everybody quit and he had to like dig his way out. So going from that to, several $100 million exit is pretty remarkable. And dude, that guy loves best practice groups. I think he said he was in two of them, right? And so yeah, man, I was trying to recommend those. And then like any kind of business book that you want to read, the classics are worth reading. Like I'm a big fan of Scaling Up right now. That's one that I really like. I kind of went off in like the EOS world, but I I think it's a cult. I don't know. Maybe it works. I
It
still
doesn't
like
fit
it.
every
People don't.
business, but, like, taking
You
little
know?
pieces can be good.
Yeah,
It
but like that stuff,
yeah.
like those become levers that at some point you can pull them, and they really can do a lot. And then the last thing I would say, and like I am guilty of this even up until last year, but get a really good like not an accountant, but like a controller or like have like really understand how your numbers are built, right? So, and this is a mistake I made in 22, and I made it again last year. So I don't know what to tell myself, but like, you should really understand your financials and how they're built and have a true professional and like spend the money, right? Spend the money to get somebody to build your numbers for you, build your books. Because otherwise, you're running off like the best number you have is the bank balance. It'll lie to you. It will
Yep.
lie to you really hard. And so yeah, like frankly, what I wish I had done rather than changing up ops or anything, I wish I had like spent the first 3 to 6 months and like gotten a good accountant on board and had, financials to me by the 10th of every month and make sure that they're true accrual financials and that, that they're set up the way they need to be set up, right? Especially like with like a lot of these smaller companies, the books, they're not a mess. They're good, they're right, but the only number that's right is the bottom line, and maybe the top line. Like everything in the middle is, whatever. And then they're cash basis books, which are not very helpful if you have any kind of credit account with a vendor or anything like that. So I really like I'm kicking myself right now because like I've tried to do it myself. I've had the wrong accountants. I let go of a good one and I had to bring her back and she reminds me every day that I did that. It's very expensive and you think you can save that cost. I've got an MBA. I know enough about QuickBooks to be dangerous, but I do think, like, everybody should, like, do their own books 1 or 2 months just to know how it's done, and then hand it off to a real professional who can really do a much better job, but, yeah, those are the things I'd recommend. Getting your sales not in that order, probably in reverse order, right? Like, get your books in order, get a good sales process, figure out marketing, join a best practices group.
So to double click on the accountant part, because I talk to and look at a lot of companies like considering buying, and it's either one of the two. It's either they have a bookkeeper who has the code to QuickBooks, or they have some outside agency. And the gap is usually like they can't explain why the numbers are why they are. Is that
Mhm.
a functionality that you've kind of built in? Like, what do you expect from your good accounting person to make you smart on your business? Because it kind of bleeds when you're smaller. You don't need like a CFO, but you also don't need someone just copying one number from one Excel sheet to another Excel.
No, you're touching on a very challenging topic, I think, because most of us, like, we're businessmen, right? Or
Yeah.
you're trade guys decided to get into this or whatever, and we're ops guys. Like, at the end of the day, all of us are ops guys, right? Like you were in the Air Force operations is like what we live and breathe, right? And like when I was in corporate America, I didn't think there was anything to like I had no idea what a CFO did. And we just got a financial statement on the 10th every month, like magic, right? And I didn't I didn't realize there was work in this that like had to be done, and much less a person had to be managed. Actually, shame on me when I first bought the company, I thought QuickBooks just did it all. It was
If you
something
let them tell it,
I
they'll tell you
thought,
they do.
like, why else would you call it QuickBooks, right? Like, it's supposed to be quick and easy, right? Like, I just send it over to QuickBooks and it comes back. I think, like, one of the rules I really tried to live by in the last 6 or 12 months is if you can't like, if there's not, like, a hard number to manage an employee by, don't hire that employee. Like, if you don't know how to manage them, you cannot hire somebody and just say, "Do marketing," right? Like, you can't do that, right? Like, you have to have, like, real numbers or even better yet, like line items on your P&L or your balance sheet that people are responsible for. So accounting, like your accountant, your controller, whatever, even then, what's an accountant? What's a controller? What's a C? What's a bookkeeper, right? Like, these roles are like really weird and like they're not normal to us. We don't understand them. And so it's very hard to hire a financial professional and understand exactly what they do, much less outsource it, right? Like, so I think kind of come up with metrics that make sense, and I think if I were to like give you like a minimum set of metrics, I would say, well, they have all of your cash accounts are reconciled by a certain day and like you've got a P&L and you need to pick some numbers that you can check in real world, right? That makes sense. And then like no negative numbers on the balance sheet and monthly reconciliations, that kind of thing. And I think that is so like for me, like what I would do is like make sure, okay, does the revenue number make sense? Yes or no? Is the cash balance matching my bank account? Yes or no? And then like, are these accounts reconciled by this date? Yes or no? And I think if you can kind of pick like three to five hard yes or no metrics, then if your controller or your accountant or whoever is actually doing what they're getting paid to do. Because you can outsource it. Like I've actually my first accountant, I think he's in jail now. Like it's
Good pick.
I'm serious. I'm pretty sure he's in jail, right? And so like there are like agencies out there. There are agencies, and no, it's not Patrick with Apple Tree. I want to make that very clear. I did that beforehand. I was pretty open that I used Patrick from Apple Tree. There was a guy before him. I guess I should probably clarify that.
It was an
Patrick's a good
SBF.
guy.
Damn bacon.
But yeah, like I've gone through like 3 or 4 and then I've tried to in-house it once or twice. And ultimately, like what I've found the best success with is these accountants these like senior accountants, there's tons of them out there that want part-time jobs. And because you can pay them basically $50 an hour and running your books for a $5 to $10 million company is it's not a full-time job, it's a part-time job. And so I posted an ad on Indeed and for a part-time controller. And so this person is their W-2. Her name is Liz. She's great. She's W-2 employee. She's salaried and like we work in Slack or email or whatever, and she does the books. And there's a few other things that she owns as well. She owns some parts of our HR and payroll system. She owns payroll processing. So she's doing more than just financial reporting. That's what I found to be the best value at this point.
All right, now a couple of final questions for you. So, thoughts on Google reviews? Do you live and die by them? Are they
Yes.
the most important thing ever? So,
Most important thing ever. Yeah. So if you looked us up, we have a 4.9 Google rating with all those 800 reviews. I'm very proud of that. What's funny about that, so we actually have 3 GMV profiles. One is our main one in Longmont. One is up in Severance. That's that small company I mentioned earlier that we bought. And then there's the original Estes Park one. And the Estes Park one, I don't maintain it. And like all of our angry customers seem to go leave reviews. It's really odd. It's like that one is just tanked and the others have done very well. So I don't know what to say, but yes, they are very, very important and you need to do everything you can to get them.
so what do you do when you get like a 1?
Actually, so a 1-star review is a great opportunity. So it depends on what it's for, right? So I'd say, half the time we made a mistake, half the time the customer's being unreasonable, right? So it's something like that, right? Like we're not perfect. And so if you made a mistake, man, just go in there and own it and like eat a little shit, pardon my French. Like
Right.
I think people appreciate that. I think that if you go in there and you sort by our 1-star reviews, they're all replied to. We got a couple of them in there, like people that are mad about pricing. I'm sorry, man, we gave you the price up front. If you didn't like it, you didn't have to hire us.
Yeah.
We're not cheap. We're by no means the cheapest. We don't want to be the cheapest. You do get a few in there, and there's a few in there that we've had, and I'm just like, oh man, yeah, we screwed up, right? And then I'll write like, hey, I am so sorry. This is our fault. Paid cleaners to go to a customer's home before. We've done like you name it, right? And in fact, one thing that we're trying to roll out now is like a clean, safe home guarantee, where if we leave a mess, we buy you dinner. And that kind of stuff, I think, goes a long way with customers, man. Like, so sometimes, yeah, dude, like you get a 1-star review, especially if you don't have that many reviews, it sucks. Just go eat it. Go stand up there, take your medicine. If the customer's being unreasonable, most of your customers, 99% of your customers are reasonable people. And when they see somebody that's mad, like we had a guy that wanted us to install his own gas regulator on a gas line that we didn't do for a furnace that we didn't do in a house we'd never been to before. And he was mad we quoted it for like $400. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. And like we didn't even do the work. So I'm just like, I'm sorry you didn't like the price. I hope you find a company that can do work for you. Like that kind of stuff, right?
Can't win 'em
That
all.
happens. You know, we've had a couple of customers leave 1-star reviews for things that happened like 4 years ago. "I'm sorry, man, it's a different company. Please give us a shot. We'd love to earn your business." Just
Yeah.
yeah, like you're gonna have upset customers. But yes, Google reviews are very important.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, I appreciate your time, JD. I'll get you out of there on that one. If people wanna get in touch with you, what would be a good way to reach you?
Ooh, I don't know, I'm not on Twitter right now. I guess Easter is like next weekend or weekend after that or
Yeah,
something,
you'll
so
be free.
I'll be back on Twitter in 2
Yeah.
weeks, or X. My X handle is @dirtyhandsoffs, or send me an email, jd@mtnvalleyplumbing.com.
Very good. My friend, I'll drop that in the show notes.